When trying to determine whether a consultant is right for you, seeing an example of how they work can be helpful. This case explains how I developed a global launch plan for a medical product. It is an example of my ability to successfully stimulate market acceptance of a new therapeutic approach. My company spent years and millions of research dollars for a product that would deliver protein to malnourished peritoneal dialysis patients. I was charged with the responsibility to lead the product launch. Early in my launch planning, I identified 3 keys for successful launch. First, to generate awareness of the problem. Second, to identify specific patient candidates. And third, to build belief in our approach. My analysis indicated that despite the existence of numerous research papers, nephrologists, the key prescribing decision maker, were woefully unaware that a large percentage of dialysis patients were protein malnourished and that this was highly correlated with poor treatment outcomes. To address these knowledge gaps, I combined the best peer-reviewed articles from these topics into an educational piece, which also contained summaries and article quotes. This information was distributed to the clinical community 12 months prior to launch. But creating awareness would not be enough to stimulate demand. Helping the nephrologist to correctly identify individual at-risk patients was critical. However, the commonly used assessment approaches like patient weight and blood values of serum albumin did not discriminate malnourished patients from other diseases. Luckily, a Toronto physician had developed and validated a nutritional assessment technique called subjective global assessment. This tool could help the nephrologist. However, the only description of the technique existed in a journal article. It was very difficult to glean the technique from the article's description. I decided to develop a video that would teach the SGA procedure step by step. We also designed an instruction manual and a score sheet that could document the patient's nutritional status in their chart. These materials were completed 3 months prior to launch. The last important step was building belief in our treatment approach. To address this, I organized a physician advisory panel, comprised of experts across a number of disciplines. We allowed them to critically review our as-yet unpublished clinical results. Their examination of this and other data resulted in a holistic rationale for the diagnosis and treatment of protein malnutrition, backed by scientific evidence and clinical results. The consensus development meetings generated a monograph to be distributed. This was completed in time for the product launch. The advisors were used as expert speakers in peer-to-peer meetings. Obviously, I needed to develop the positioning statement, messaging, and branding that supported the clinical results. Since the product would be launched globally, I managed an international team who was responsible for developing the sales collateral. The team readily accepted the product positioning. However, it became clear early on that my American perspective of nutrition conveying messages and images was very different from the European perspective. I decided to allow the local perspective to drive the sales collateral. For who better than the local marketer to decide the branding most impactful for their customer? The message remained the same across the globe, but the images used to convey the message varied. These decisions all drove our successful product launch.